Hello, and how are you today? I hope you're doing well. I wanted to take the time today to have a quick conversation about Lent. Lent is approaching, so I thought this would be a great time to have this conversation. And it made me think a few years back, a couple of church members wanted to know why I celebrated Lent because I'm not Catholic, and that is something that people of the Catholic faith celebrate and not me. So it made me ponder, should I stop celebrating Lent or should I go on celebrating Lent like I always have? And so that made me think maybe you might be having this conversation with yourself or with other people, or you might be interested into knowing what Lent is and should you participate it as well. So I decided to go ahead and I just did a quick online search of high level of what Lent is. And I'm just going to go over 5 points of what Lent is. And if you want deeper and more meaningful explanation and information, I highly suggest that you too do your own research and maybe pick up some books or things of that nature. Okay, so what is Lent? Number one, Lent is not in the Bible. Okay, I want you to marinate on that. It is not in the Bible. Some people, will bring up that argument, well, it's not in the Bible, so you shouldn't celebrate it. So I just want you to know that as well. First point. Second point, the time of Lent is 40 days. The 40 days of Lent is associated with the time that Jesus spent fasting and praying in the wilderness and was tempted by the devil during those 40 days. And you can find those stories of that temptation in the Gospels. And they are in the three Gospels. They are in Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 11. You have Mark chapter 1, 12 through 15, and you have Luke chapter 4, verses 1 through 13. I highly recommend that you go back, read for the first time or reread, what Jesus faced during those 40 days of prayer and fasting and being tempted. It's always a good example for us as believers to understand there is nothing that Jesus didn't go through that we too are not going through at this very moment. So it's very encouraging for us as believers. So I highly encourage you that you go out to the Gospels and you read those passages. Okay. And then the third thing is that Lent begins on Ash Wednesday and it ends on Easter Sunday. The fourth point is that Lent was a period that originated for a time of fasting and preparation for Easter, is why it was established, and which we know Easter is a resurrection of Christ. And I do understand and acknowledge that some people no longer say Easter Sunday. They say Resurrection Sunday for that very reason, because Christ rose for that. And so this is something that started traditionally about a few centuries after the death of Christ. So the fifth point, that was the fourth point. The fifth point is that there are three pillars of Lent, and that is fasting, prayer, and giving. And when you think about it, if you spend 40 days fasting, praying, and giving, this most definitely will help you develop a deeper and more meaningful relationship with Christ. It should be a time that you walk away knowing that you've reflected on some things. You are, filled with service and prayer and just feeling really good about the time that you spent with Christ during the 40 days of Lent. So now that we've discussed what Lent is, let's talk about what people do during Lent. And for that, I'm going to take it from the three pillars. And the first pillar I'm going to discuss is fasting. Fasting is when you give up something, you sacrifice something. So for the 40 days of Lent, you are sacrificing something. You are denying your flesh of something. It's like a consecration that you're doing for 40 days. And that could be a gamut of things that you do during that time, and you will decide what you want to give up. So when we were kids, we gave up candy for Easter for 40 days. And, back in the day, that was very tough for some of us children. And we were always looking forward to the great reward, though, of that beautiful Easter basket. We couldn't wait to come home from church and have that beautiful Easter basket to open it up after having our Easter meal. So that is something that we did as children. And now that we're adults, there are different things that you can give up, but you can still give up your sweets. You can give up your cakes, your cookies, your pies, and things of that nature. You can give up bad language. You can give up cursing. You can give up bad behaviors that you would love to turn into good behaviors, Christ-like habits and things of that nature. You can give up your favorite foods. You can give up television, social media. There is a gamut of things that you can give up. And just like when we were children, when you give up something, there is a great reward at the end. And you think about it, if you're spending 40 days of fasting, praying, and giving, your reward is a deeper, more meaningful relationship with Christ, but better Christian habits that you may have developed. So that is your reward. And that's just a great reward. That's the best reward. But by chance, we're all kids at heart. Feel free to go get yourself an Easter basket. Treat yourself to some sweet treat or treat yourself to something that you want. Be loving, be kind, and be gracious to yourself more than anything. So the second pillar is prayer. Prayer is a time that you can take out to talk to God, read and study his word, and just develop a deeper relationship with him. And it's also an opportunity during these 40 days for you to develop what I call Christian habits. And one of the things that you might do as a Christian habit is, you may say for the next 40 days, I'm going to pray daily instead of once a week. Whenever I think about it, whenever I can remember, I'm going to pray daily. That could be a good Christian habit that you start, and from there it can go on. Or you might say that during the next 40 days, I'm going to pray at this time. I usually pray at this time, but I want to pray at this time. I want it to be more meaningful. You can then decide what you want to do to develop your prayer walk with God. It is so important that you do what is best for you. Maybe during these 40 days, you commit to reading something, the Gospels, during this time of 40 days of Lent. Whatever it is developing a deeper, meaningful relationship with Christ. The third thing that you can do is that you can give. And by giving, that could be anything of your time, your talent, or your treasures. It's a time to show compassion. It's a time to show generosity. It's a time to show your social responsibility as well. So, by giving, you can do something like volunteering at an organization for, the less fortunate, or something that's near and dear to your heart. You can also share your talents by mentoring somebody, shoveling snow, doing something for a senior or a person that may have any form of disabilities that they can't do. You can share your talents with them to help them. And then lastly, you can make a financial donation to maybe someone that that's in need. You can give gift cards if they don't want to accept money, and just show your generosity that way. You can donate to a local food pantry or a local organization in your community, or you can make a donation to a national organization. So those are the three pillars of Lent: fasting, prayer, and giving. And these should be the basis of, what you're doing during the Lent season. But I want to put a pin in this and this is very serious. I want you to be mindful, if you are taking any kind of medication or you have any kind of health challenges, that you really seek out health professionals' advice before you do anything that may alter your natural health. You want to be kind to yourself. You want to be good to yourself. You want to show wisdom and discernment. You want to participate in Lent, but this would be a great opportunity for you to seek out wise counsel, but also, in your prayer time and in your prayer time and fasting, you can ask God, what do you think that I should be doing during this time? So that is what I want to make sure I point out to you. Okay, so I want to talk about my decision. As I stated before in the beginning, people would often inquire as to why I celebrate Lent. And so, which made me ponder their question. So I just wanted to share that I grew up Catholic, in the Catholic faith, and I went to Catholic schools. And later in my young adult life, I joined a Baptist church, which then became a non-denominational ministry. And what drew me to the ministry was its in-depth and comprehensive teaching of the Word of God, like I've never heard before. And that just really, resonated with my whole spirit. And of course, I love the praise and worship because I love learning about, praising the Lord, worshiping the Lord. And, it even taught me that, you don't have to do it corporately. You can do it, in the privacy of your own home or car or wherever you are. So that's what drew me to that ministry, which is why my church members was asking me that question. So But, you know, I didn't really answer it to them. I just said it's just something that have always done and I'm going to continue to do. And that is pretty much my stand now. It's something that I've always done, and it's something that I feel I'm going to continue to do unless I get some divine revelation that this is not something that I should be participating in. So that's my take on celebrating the 40 days of Lent, or participating, I should say, in the 40 days of Lent. And I really want to say that I look at the time of Lent as a time of fasting. And I believe those earlier years of me fasting as a kid and like the early years of my adult life has really helped me build a much stronger fasting life as a born again believer. And this is something that we should all do, because it says in his word in the Gospels, when you pray, when you fast, when you give. So it's not a matter if you should, it's a matter of when you do it. So, and those were the words of Christ, by the way, written in red. So, to me, it's just part of another level of Christ. And it just, took me a little, deeper. And I'm very glad that I have that as part of my walk with Christ. So I just want to say that, I gave up things, when I was a kid, like candy. But as I became a young adult, I listed some of the things that I gave up, and some of the things I wanted to change and make into good Christian, habits, and different changes I wanted to see in my life. So there was a part to time when I gave up junk food, I gave up soda, I gave up bad language, cursing. I gave up. Sleeping in. I forced myself to get up earlier and, seek him out in prayer and conversation and reading and studying my word, things that I wanted to see different in my life, goals that I set, spiritual goals that I set. I use that time of 40 days to help me reach those goals. And I've been very successful in some of the goals. And sometimes, you lapse and things of that nature, but each time I try and I get better and better at it. So I'm very grateful for the time in the 40 days of Lent, because it does help me develop better Christian habits, is what I like to call it. So during this 40 days, I will be, of course, participating in the 3 pillars. I will be praying, fasting, and of course, giving in some shape or form or fashion. And I also picked up a book. It's like 40 Days to Easter. It's like has messages and teachings in it, and it's a time of journaling. So that's what I'm going to do to add on to my already prayer life that I have. I would encourage you to, if you have a local Bible app on your phone, to go ahead and, look to see if they have any kind of teachings and things that you can follow along with for Lent. And I'm sure if you go online and look for something, you might find something that aligns with your belief system if you do decide to participate in Lent. So as I get ready to wrap this wonderful conversation up about Lent, whether you decide to participate in Lent or not, it's your personal decision, to be honest. And how I feel is you shouldn't be judged for it, and you should not be condemned. That's just how I feel. Whatever you decide to do, I pray that, your journey towards Christ gets stronger and better, and is successful. And I also pray, if you decide not to participate in Lent for whatever your reason is, that you don't condemn others and don't judge others that decide to participate in it. I am a firm believer in sound counsel and wisdom and discernment. But I think all of those things need to be given love. And if you are a messenger sent to give somebody that message, then you just lay it at their feet and let them decide what they want to do with it, and not to make them feel bad or any kind of way or condemn. It's just how I feel. So I pray this message on Lent has blessed you. And if so, I hope that you like and subscribe to the channel. I would love to continue this conversation in the comments below. You can tell me if you are participating in Lent. Is this your first time? If you've ever participated, any suggestions on, where to volunteer and things of that nature, good book recommendations, anything that you might add to, really support people that may want to do the 40 days of Lent. No matter your decision, I pray that the next 40 days are wonderful for you. You feel God's love, his peace, and his joy. I pray that this journey of 40 days during this time of fasting, praying, and giving will be everything that your hearts desire. So with that being said, happy Easter, or happy Resurrection Sunday. Take care until next time.